Hey, everybody. Hi, how are you today? I'm Shelly Palmer, and welcome to the Strategy Hacker live stream. What you were listening to just now, it's funny, Howie Schwartz just asked a question. What was that music? It was the TNT network main title theme, Turner Network Television, TNT main title theme was part of a 150 some odd cut package we did in 1995 when the network launched. It was just an incredible time. Howard, that was done on the console that you sold me, actually, back in 1995. What a fabulous time that was. There was about 80 musicians, full brass section, full string section. Back in the day when actual human beings played, but full complement machines too. Alan Schwartzberg playing drums and Lou Soloff on lead trumpet. May he rest in peace. What an amazing, amazing band that was. Orchestrations for that package were Pete Levin did a ton of it. And Greg Smith did a ton of it. Greg has gone on to have an incredible career at Disney and some other places. So welcome, everybody. I see a lot of people on chat. Welcome, YouTube. Welcome. Oh, no, I don't see a lot of people on LinkedIn today. It looks like LinkedIn may not have functioned. I hate when that happens. The only way to get to LinkedIn, unfortunately, hey, howdy, Dave Taylor. The only way to get to LinkedIn is to go through Restream, which we're doing. But it looks like it's not online. I'm very sad about that. That's unfortunate. But wherever you are, YouTube, I see a bunch of you there and a whole bunch on Facebook. So welcome, Facebook people. Welcome, Twitch. Oh, my goodness, my Twitch peeps. We have Twitch peeps. Yay. Lori from Las Vegas. Welcome. Ken from New York City. And, of course, Dave, nice to see you. Howie, Ken Gold, nice to see you. Thanks so much, everybody, for showing up today. I really appreciate it. While everybody's getting here, wait a minute. There's some LinkedIn. Hello, Clayton. Our LinkedIn is on. Wow, it doesn't say it's on. I'm glad you guys are there. Welcome, LinkedIn. Yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, check in and let me know where you are in the world. Love to know what part of the world you're in. We have got a big international crowd, which I'm very psyched about. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping while we wait for everybody to show up. You are, of course, watching me on YouTube. Or Facebook or LinkedIn Live or Periscope, which is almost out of business at this point. And the few lonely, intrepid souls on Twitch, welcome. Hey, Greg Willis, how are you? And such a pleasure to have everybody here. I love this group. You can get to the YouTube channel at shellypalmer.com/live. I don't actually remember my custom YouTube thing, but we made a shortcut there, so that works out. If you're listening, you are probably on PGX, but if you're not on PGX, in the description on any one of the services you're watching on, in the description, there is a link to PGX. This is our private social network, and I'm very excited to share that with you. We have crossed the 3,000 member mark. There are 3,009 members now at PGX, which is super cool. And I am very excited to invite all of you to come and join us. It is a wonderful place. We talk about the stuff that's happening in a monitored chat room. There are different subjects you can get involved in, different groups around 5G or analytics or ad tech and martech, and a lot of professionals there. And I just think you would really enjoy being there. It's a great group of people to converse with and also do business with. You can, by the way, if you're for the PGX members who are on PGX now who don't actually remember this or know this, you can post your events there and you can post articles there. So please, I hope you do. Absolutely hope that you will. Let's see. If you want to send me an email, Shelly at shellypalmer.com. If you would like to DM me on Twitter, it's at Shelly Palmer. I'd be very, very happy to hear from you. Anything you'd like, you please let me know. By the way, things with the chat today, folks. If you are on chat, please chat with each other. Hello, Claire from France. Hello, Don Levine. And I would love you guys to chat with each other. This is an AMA kind of day, so you can ask me anything, and I hope you will. My sincere hope is that you will ask some questions. We'll put some of them up, and I'll do my very best to answer them. I try to treat this hour like office hours, and I'm always happy to get your questions. So please, please feel free to ask. Many of you know this, but I'm going to say it anyway as we're waiting for everybody to show up. We do salons every day. On Mondays at 11:05 to 11:30, we do education tech. And then on Tuesdays, we do leading edge tech. These are all on Zoom. On Wednesdays, like this morning, we do health tech, health and wellness tech. On Thursdays, we do technology, media, marketing. And you are welcome to any or all of them. So I hope you will join. I absolutely hope you will join these salons. They're on Zoom. It's really easy. We go into breakout rooms. You'll learn something. You'll teach something. You'll meet some new people. You'll bump into old friends. It's a fabulous community. It's every day, Monday through Thursday. It's 25 minutes in and out. Nobody gets hurt. It's really super fun. And we've got a whole bunch of courses at courses.shellypalmer.com, and our trend report is there. So if you are interested in our 2021 Trends and Insights report, that's also there. And we'd love it if you would say it's down. You can download it. It's free, but there's some other resources there and a whole bunch of free stuff. We are coming close to closing the Shelly Palmer store, which had all the Strategy Hacker merchandise in it. So you're still a little bit of time left to buy, and everything there. We don't make a lot of money on this store, but because there's not much markup, but whatever markup there is and whatever earnings we've made, we've donated to Memorial Sloan Kettering Pediatric Cancer Care. So you can buy there knowing that all of the profit is going to a very, very good cause. And of course, to me, you're all strategy hackers, and this is the Strategy Hacker live stream. So if you're going to tweet about it or talk about it, I would ask you to use the Strategy Hacker hashtag. That would be fantastic. I appreciate that very much. Hello from South Africa, Clayton. That's amazing. And Leander from the Netherlands, and Andy Marks. I don't know where you're calling from. Richard Sellers, 60 Minutes. We're going to talk about 60 Minutes. In fact, we're going to go deep into 60 Minutes today. Dwight from the Boston Burbs. So happy to have you here. Jim Thomas, welcome. I am very happy to have all you guys here today. Let me see if I can do something good here. You guys, I assume, can all hear me just perfectly, and you will let me know if you can't. LinkedIn is good, audio is perfect. That's what I like to hear from everybody. All right, fantastic. So yeah, please ask your questions. Absolutely, please ask your questions. We would really appreciate hearing from you. I am fascinated by what's making that little noise here, since I have every notification turned off. That's pretty spectacular. All right, let's get started. So we've had a really, really, really interesting week, and I do mean an interesting week. A couple things have gone on that I think are pretty spectacular. One, I'm just going to start, where I have to start. I was watching 60 Minutes the other night. I guess it's Sunday night where you watch 60 Minutes. And what can I say about 60 Minutes? Let's think about that for a second. So they ran a story, and they ran a story about DNA and the data, DNA data. And I hope you will weigh in and chat about this. So hello from Gothenburg, Sweden, and hello, Bill Slats. How are you? Glad to see you there, Bill Slats. Glad. Zane, wow, welcome. Of course, I'll call you a name. I don't know if I could say your last name. Is it Abedin, Zane? I think it is. And Brian Ekstrom, welcome. We will definitely talk about Bezos stepping down. So yeah, welcome everybody. So 60 Minutes runs this story the other night, and it's all about what's going to happen DNA wise. What is likely to happen to us as they take our DNA? And they called out Ancestry.com, they called out 23andMe, and they talked about the Chinese, and they talked about a biotech organization in China who is offering to help various cities with swabbing and testing for coronavirus. And so here we've got probably the worst little bit of journalism I've seen in I don't know how long. I literally do not know when the last time I saw anything that pissed me off as much as this particular story. Couple reasons. First, they put a couple guys on television. They put a couple guys on TV. They were both ex-government. One was talking about the pure danger of having the Chinese get a hold of this data, because what are they going to do with it? They're going to make designer drugs, and then they're going to sell them back to us. And then the other person was going crazy about how they're going to have a DNA profile of every man, woman, and child in the United States, and there are enemies, and this is going to be evil. Let's leave the Chinese government out of this for a minute, because while all the data that goes to China ends up in the hands of the Chinese government, at least as best as we can tell, and I don't want to debate the idea that there's no rule of law around data and there's no privacy of your data in China. And I don't want to in any way debate whether they are Big Brother or not. I don't, because if you come with me to China, obviously I haven't traveled at all this year, but in previous years I was in Asia Pac all the time because we do a lot of business over there. We have a lot of friends in China. We have an amazing number of business colleagues in China, and we do business with American companies who are global, who have a giant footprint in China. One of our companies has over 400 retail doors in China. One of our companies has their whole supply chain in China. Another one of our companies has 30% of their supply chain in China. It's a giant market. It's an economic powerhouse. Numerically, by I think 2028, they'll be the world's largest economy. So there's no denying that China is a powerful place. There's also no denying that the government has its hand in every bit of data, no pun intended. Bit, byte, you name it, the Chinese government gets their hands on it. End of story, full stop. So if that's the thesis of the article on 60 Minutes, that the Chinese are evil and they get your data and they get their own people's data and they do bad things with it. Okay, if that's the thesis of it, I think we could probably debate whether they are, what they're doing with it, how they're doing it, all that other stuff. We could probably debate it. I'd rather not, because in practice, I do know that they collect data and they use data in ways that we don't here. That, to be fair and frank, aren't legal here, aren't. And the Chinese technology community is committed to AI in a way that America is, but the government is way behind it. In China, they are committed to crowd control and crowd monitoring in a way that we're just not. Face recognition is okay there. So let's leave all this out for a minute. One of the things that the 60 Minutes story played up, if you will, was this idea that there was something wrong with the Chinese having a plan, and in this plan, letting the world know they want to be a world leader in health tech, in biotech, in bioengineering, and in data science. They wrote it down. They've shared it with everybody. They're not bashful about it. The Chinese are planners. We know they plan. We know they plan as a government. We know they look long term. And this is not news. It's not new and it isn't news. What I took exception to was that instead of turning around and saying what we need in America is federal policy to promote investment, government policy to promote education, business climate and policy to promote big corporate to get involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Instead of going there, they kept saying it's dangerous if China, what if China gets designer drugs before us and then they'll sell them to us? Someone's going to get designer drugs. And by the way, if we got designer drugs before they did, we'd sell them to them. So I don't know. The whole thing to me was fear mongering in the extreme. And I think it missed the most important thing. If you're going to do what they did, if you're going to go out there and say, look, the bad Chinese people, the evil Chinese are going to steal your data, then tell me what they're going to do with it that's going to hurt me. Then they brought another woman on who just made my blood boil. She was just pontificating about how our individual data has value and we should be compensated. If 23andMe is selling their data to GSK and GSK is paying them for it, then we should get paid for the data. Even we paid $100 to find out where we're from and who our relatives are and what our ethnicity is, and we should get a piece of whatever the $300 million is that they collected by selling this database for research purposes, anonymized, by the way, to GSK. So let's talk about that because that's what I wish they had talked about. When you go online, every one of you is online right now. I see a whole bunch of you on YouTube, a whole bunch of you on LinkedIn, a whole bunch of you on Facebook. Everybody's online. Such a nice crowd too. Welcome everybody. And please, questions in chat. We're going to get off of this in a second. So everything that you're doing right now, every character you're typing, everything you're doing this second is being logged. It's being logged by Facebook, it's being logged by Google, it's being logged by whoever is you've allowed in the value chain to log you. And whatever data that you are generating data, the data that you need to be logged in here, plus some surplus data, exhaust data that no one needs, but is absolutely being taken, cataloged, and tucked away. And it will be used later. It'll be put to good use. It'll be used in predictive analytics. And what are they going to do? They're going to try to put the right message in front of you at the right time, in the right place. So right person, right place, right time, right message. Those are the 4 things you're trying to do with data. The goal is to turn the data into action. I have this big pile of data, and there is XYZ person, and I want to make sure they see the right ad or the right piece of content, or I want to engage them and keep them here, or I want to make sure that they're enjoying their experience with Netflix or with Amazon Prime Video so that I'm going to hold on to you. So that's the goal of the data elite. They are collecting data, not only what they need, like Google will collect a timestamp to know what time you're doing a search, your location to know where you are. You could argue the location's important if you're mobile, or even if you're not, even if you're sitting at your desk. Are you in New York? Are you in Midtown Manhattan? Are you in the suburbs? Like, it would help Google to surface the right, if you're looking for a drugstore, certainly one near me. If you type in restaurants near me, location would help. The duration of how long you sit there, how many iterations you go through, they catalog all of it. Do they need all of it? Do they need the all of the various identifiers from your computer and your browser? Do they need the media query? Do they need to know precisely what device you're on and what browser you're using? Probably not. Does it help them to know what browser? It would later for something else, not for this. They want to make sure they've got a piece of compatible media that's going to land on your browser. They want to absolutely make sure that they understand what generation your computer is, and they can make a lot of inferences from the surplus data that they don't need to give you the results of the search. They just don't need it. So, does our individual data have value? That's the question. My data right now, your data right now, the data you are creating this second, does it have any value whatsoever to you? It has an immense amount of value to Google, to Facebook, to Amazon, to the whole data elite crowd. And you can make that cutoff wherever you want. You can call it the 4, you can call it FANG, you can add Microsoft, you do whatever you want. Call it who you want. Is it Tencent? Is it Alibaba? You name the group, you name the organization. If they're collecting data and they're turning it to action at this level, your aggregated data, whether it's anonymized or not, is really, really, really valuable to them. Now let's take your DNA sequence. A single DNA sequence, 3 billion pairs, albeit quite a lot of data. What are they going to do with your DNA sequence, and what value does it have to them by itself? They can compare it to other databases to determine where you sit across, where your various chromosomes and DNA pairs get scored against other normal DNA strands. They can do a whole bunch of stuff. They make some predictions. They maybe learn a little bit about what diseases you might have a proclivity towards. Over time, AI, which is a pattern matching tool, will pattern match in a way that we find really valuable. Most geneticists will tell you that genes don't work like most lay people think they work. Genes work by doing things in conjunction with other genes, and that certain conditions arise, and it is more systemic and environmental than this gene causes this and this thing causes that. There is not a direct straight line one-to-one relationship between a gene and its allele. And I'm not an expert, but I've sat through an awful lot of evolutionary biology, and I've sat through a ton of DNA data courses and conversations with our clients, because it's a big subject in healthcare right now. Designer drugs, molecular biology, biotech, in every flavor. It's big. It's the new frontier. The idea is, keeping us healthy by getting as reductionist as we can against the DNA. But let's go back to the ultimate question. Let's go back to the question. Does your 3 billion pair sequence of DNA, does that strand of DNA that you have, does it have value by itself? Does your browsing data have value by itself to anyone? And if it does, how should you be compensated? I think what's more important is you should have the right to understand how it's going to be used and who's going to use it. And you should make a decision about whether or not you want to be a worker in the minds of the data elite. I think I've told this group many times that my thinking has dramatically evolved when it comes to data. I honestly don't understand why anybody would post anything on social media that wasn't just superficial. People who are posting themselves getting pictures of getting the vaccine, folks, that's PHI, that's personal health information. You're letting the world know in a public forum what your health status is. That's what this conversation is about on 60 Minutes. It's dangerous for adversaries to know, for adversaries to get a hold of our data. This thing on 60 Minutes was horrifying. Everything about it made my blood boil. They missed every opportunity to talk about data privacy, what the value of data is, who uses it, how you turn it into action, why we should be concerned and what we should do about it, what government policies we should have, and more importantly, and most importantly, what conditions have to arise here in the United States for us to get our heads out of our asses and actually decide to be smart in the 21st century? Want to lead the world? Then you got to stop QAnon craziness. You got to stop arguing over complete nonsense. And you have to make some policy. You have to make some laws. America has picked a remarkably unfortunate decade to make it cool to be stupid. And this is not the time. And if you're really worried about the Chinese government's plans to dominate the world in AI and data science and biomedicine, yeah, you should worry. They have an awful lot of people there. Their economy is going to be unstoppable. And we are going to be sitting in the back seat wondering, gee, where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong? What is this nonsense we're talking about right now? I've got people sitting here that are science deniers. You're not listening to experts about COVID, and you're sitting here telling me that you're worried about the Chinese getting your DNA data? Wow, 60 Minutes. Have you missed the point in a pretty unfortunate way? Now, Don Hewitt's one of the greatest producers that ever lived. He invented 60 Minutes, and may he rest in peace. But I know for a fact he'd be turning over in his grave. That was an abomination. It was a horror show, and I hope I never have to sit through anything quite like it again. Although I am totally sure that I'm going to have to, because I don't see how 60 Minutes is going to wake up one morning and decide that they all of a sudden are going to become real journalists. I don't know how. I don't. Anyway, questions, please. I'll absolutely take your questions. Happy to. And of course, please check in. Wow, biggest crowd we've had in a long time. So please check in. Hello, Twitch people. I am so happy to see you here. Twitch is my high hill to climb. It's my high hurdle. Sorry about the rant on 60 Minutes. The data thing drives me crazy. It really does. We have to understand that we live in a world where we need everyone to understand how their data is being used. Everybody needs to know. And you need to decide if it's worth it to you. And if it is worth it to you, then you need to give your consent. And if it isn't, you need to be able to withhold your consent without question, without any muss or fuss, without having to sift through 900 different screens and figure out, whoa, should I let them do this when they do that? Opt me in, opt me out. Get me in here, get me out of here. We got to get there. We absolutely do. All right, switching gears. And again, please, Bill O'Reilly was a 60 Minutes reporter. That's really funny. There was one other thing that happened this week that just made me kind of smile. And space tourism. It was a story yesterday. I was so happy to see this. I want to show you something that I think a lot of you are not going to remember. I think a lot of you may not remember. How many of you remember, let me just see if I can find it here. This. Do we know what this is? This is the original astronaut space pen. I'm going to open it up right now. This is my Fisher This is it's actually a replica of my Fisher space pen. It will write in zero gravity. It was on the yes, it is the anti-gravity pen, Ken Weisman. That's it. This is my Fisher space pen, and I wrote an open letter to Elon Musk 2 years ago when the first Falcon tests were landing. Hey, Mohammed from Egypt, welcome, welcome. And I love this pen, and I mentioned the pen in my open letter to Elon Musk. And the truth stranger than fiction, the Fisher space pen guys, they're still in business. They still make this pen. You can absolutely get this pen like right now. You just, go on like whatever it is, go online and you can get your Fisher space pen. So they sent me one with a kind of, it was like crazy. So there's a funny story, and Ken Gold, you just brought it up. There's a funny story about the Fisher space pen. People say that we spend millions of dollars developing this Fisher space pen, which I don't think is true. I think they just figured out how to do a pressurized ink cartridge. But notwithstanding, there's on the internet speaking about fake news or stories that aren't true that you can go Snopes. So the story that you'll find online is that America spent millions of dollars making a pen that would write in zero gravity, and the Russians used a pencil. Turns out that's just a story, but it does make the best sense. And yeah, Ken, thanks for bringing that up. It was pretty funny. So yeah, I just feel like this Fisher space pen just made me happy. Elon Musk announced, the reason that this came up is that Elon Musk announced that Jared Isaacman, who is a multimillionaire in the payment processing space, has put up 100 million personal dollars. He's going to donate a seat of the 4 seats in the Dragon capsule. He's going to donate 1 seat to St. Jude. Someone's going to win a seat doing something with his payment processing business, and he's going to have he's the commander, and there'll be all civilians on this Falcon 9 as they go and they orbit the Earth on the first ever non-astronaut, all civilian crew. In July of 1969, about 11 o'clock at night, my family, we were all gathered around the TV. We were watching Neil Armstrong, one giant step for man, or a man, depending on who you ask, and one giant leap for mankind. Every time I think about the lunar landing, I get chills because I remember it, and I remember the way I felt as a little kid watching this. And I so clearly remember asking my father when he thought regular people, normal people, would get to the moon. And his expression was priceless because he was trying to let me down easy. He didn't really want me to be sad about it. And he said, one day. Well, look, that day just got really, really much, much closer. The idea that we're going to have civilians that are able to do this, that's really amazing to me. And you may not see it as the kind of spectacular, truly spectacular event. But to me, yeah, I just thought it was incredible. So yeah, that just happened. Here's a question from Simon. Any thoughts? I have to look up close here. Any thoughts about Universal afternoon? An event a month, next month, 120. Yeah. I saw that. I'm interested in what you guys think about it, to be fair. I think the world that we live in from a media perspective is really changing. There used to be 44 days of television. You know what they are. You can count them. Super Bowl, that was the day. Academy Awards, that was a day. Tonys, that was a day. Grammys, that was a day. Sweet 16, Final Four, some of those counted, not all of them, the Final Four. Then, of course, the finals, World Series, Olympics, come once. You go down the list. Dwight Yen, I don't know if those are one-way tickets. You go down the list, there's about 44 days of broadcast television where it really matters. Football is a lot of them. American football here in the United States, a lot of them. Those days are fewer and farther between right now. Ratings are dipping more than precipitously. We are in a place where we have not seen ratings this low, and we have not seen viewership this light. And demographically, from an advertising perspective, advertiser-supported television is under an awful lot of pressure. Now, you wouldn't know it by looking at the media companies because they just charge more for a smaller audience because supply and demand allows them to do that. And if you think about the way that advertising works on television, it's very easy to understand. You've got, let's say I have 1 million people watching tonight, and that's what I have. I used to have 5 million, but today I have 1 million. Where do you get 1 million people watching the same thing at the same time on a Thursday night or on a Wednesday night? And next day they're going to do something based on what you tell them to do. So if reach is what you're looking for, and if awareness solves your problem, and I want you to think about both of those things very carefully. If reach is what you're looking for, meaning you need to reach the largest number of people, and awareness solves your problem, meaning you've got a marketer in your organization who's come up with a fantastic marketing plan, 2 for $1, buy one, get one free, whatever it's going to be. They've got an amazing marketing program that sell in and sell through. And now I need to make consumers aware. Right now, everybody's going to be aware of my new fantastic offer or my new fantastic product. And awareness is going to solve my business problem. It's going to drive either the velocity at retail or the conversions I need. You can't spend, no matter how expensive TV is, you can't spend less money on a per person basis. TV is still one of the most exceptional reach vehicles that we have. Unfortunately, it's not what it used to be. And it doesn't work for every demographic. And that's where that's the devil's in the details. Football still delivers a predominantly 60-40 male audience, although they're skewing older than they ever did on broadcast television. So if your car and truck or your drugs or your consumer packaged goods, you probably get away with some football advertising. It's not for everybody, and it doesn't work against every demographic. But if you're selling kids candy bars or you're selling something for 13 to 32-year-old boys or girls, we're going to spend $600-700 million on TV. You're going to reach 20% of them. Can't reach them there. It's not where they are. I don't watch TV. So TV is under an amazing amount of pressure, and they're going to try and do anything they can, events, destination. It's time for broadcast TV to stunt its way through the next X number of years, and they are clearly planning to do it, and I wish them well. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I do know that TV is under an immense amount of pressure, and it's harder to see financially than it had been. Because again, they do like to charge more for less, and they can because I don't have a great. I mean, the metaphor that always gets used is politically so incorrect. I won't say it in the live stream, but the less good metaphor is in a city of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It's that. I mean, you are literally the biggest small thing, right? If I get 1 million people tonight, and that's the only place you can get 1 million people, yeah, you used to get 10 million. You don't now, you get 1 million, but 1 million costs X, and X is still cheaper than me reaching out on Facebook or me reaching out on Google or me trying to get 1 million people a different way. There's one other thing about TV that's magical that has yet to be replaced by the internet and in any way. And I really think that the internet's going to need an answer for this before it can absolutely put a wooden stake in the heart of television. The promise of the internet, especially from an advertising perspective and only from an advertising perspective, the promise of digital advertising, targeted digital advertising, is that you could send 1 million people 1 million separate customized messages, and it would be more effective than having 1 million people watch one message, because the 1 million people watching one message, there would be too much waste. The feminine hygiene product is not used by men or by women who are above or below a certain age. Therefore, it is wasteful to run that ad during football. It's the way the conventional wisdom goes, that you're wasting some part of the audience. But if you could use digital targeting to target carefully, each using data, as we were earlier talking about, that I could have the same or a better or higher impact. 1 million people seeing 1 million different messages would be as effective as 1 million people seeing one message. As it turns out, that's not true. It's not even close to true, because there's second order and third order network effects. And when your mother sees it and tells you about it the next day, or your wife sees it and tells it to you in the morning, or your cousin or your aunt, your uncle, or someone in your circle of friends, word of mouth it to you the next day, it's powerful. There are people who will have memories of things they've never seen because a lot of people talk to them about it in a given weekend. They heard about something that happened in the Super Bowl. They heard about something that happened at a Monday Night Football game. They never bothered to see it for themselves, but they can talk about it with authority. In fact, they'll form a memory of it. Second and third order network effects. Show me 1 million disparate messages that can create that. And the answer is it can't. It can't numerically and it can't systemic. It can't. It's not what it does. It's not what it's for. So if your message will convert those 1 million people with 1 million separate messages, and you've tested 1 million separate messages against the profiles of those 1 million people, and you can get a high conversion rate, okay. But if you're trying to create zeitgeist, buzz, gestalt thing where, everyone's talking about your stuff and you're going to play off of that, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So TV owns that. TV owns that. And they're going to own it until the internet comes back and takes it away from them. And I'm not exactly sure what tool set is going to take it away from them, but my suspicion is someday in the future it will. All right, folks, we need you to check in. We need you to ask your questions because I want to do a solid AMA for the last couple minutes of this thing. I also would love you to go to shellypalmer.com/live. And there you will find a copy of my interview with Dustin Tyler entitled Human Machine Fusion. I think the actual title of the piece is Neuroreality. This was so cool. I have to tell you, it just completely blew my mind. And where we are in the world of haptics, in the world of fusing with our machines, and for entertainment, for technology mean entertainment, it's very, very meaningful because we are used to having our experiences come from outside our body, and then our brain interprets what the sensors are picking up. You see something, light falls incident on your retina. The rods and cones in your eye transmit some impulses to your optic nerve, to your brain. Your brain makes an interpretation about what it thinks you're seeing. There's a lot of science about how you see. I don't need to go into it. If you hear something, same. The world around you vibrates. It's pressure waves in the air. It causes your ears to respond, bones in your head to move, those vibration bones in your body to move. Those vibrations and that pressure is turned by your brain into a sense of sound, and you hear. You also can locate. You can using that same technology. Smell, same. Touch, same. We sense the world around us. Our brain interprets what those sensations are, and we respond. We'll feel joy, we'll feel fear, we'll feel happiness. The work they're doing at the Human Machine Fusions Institute at Case Western Reserve University is stunning. It started with amputees and people who had lost limbs or use of limbs. And they have 3 ways they attach the system. They either put just like an external cuff on and to stimulate the nerves. They do a little bit of a more invasive thing with some needles, or then they can be very sort of invasive and go in there and attach things to your nerves. The people who are in these programs can feel with these hands as if it's their hand. And when you hear them discuss it, it's everywhere from emotional to visceral. They literally can feel what is put in their hands because their whole peripheral nervous system and their brain are being enlisted as part of the tool set to do it. Okay, that's amazing for amputees, and God bless the people who are doing it. That really is important work, and it's fantastic. When an able-bodied person uses these tools, you get a couple things. Telekinesis is on the top of the list. You don't need to be near the prosthesis. You don't need to be near the robot arm. The robot arm could be on the space station. The robot arm could be across the country. The robot arm, and you could feel what you were doing by touching it. What would happen if you could touch something across the country? So we went down that rabbit hole for a little bit, and he had some pretty good stuff to say about it. And then we took it to another level when we went offline, and I got to have him back, and I have to have another convo with him, because now I started to ask about reality and what happens from a media perspective when I'm creating something, and I want you to feel what I'm feeling, literally and figuratively. When I write a piece of music, I hear it in my head. I write it on paper so that other musicians can understand what it is I heard in my head. Then we realize the piece of music is the technical term. We play it and record it so you can hear it. And that's the way music works. I hear it in my head. I write it down or communicate it. And so I don't have to write it down. I can communicate it to other musicians, or I can just play it myself. And then you can hear it and you'll respond to it, and it'll make you feel a certain way. But the instrument is external to me, and the sound is external to you. And each of us is sealed in our own bodies with our own sensory nervous system and our own ability to sense those sounds. What happens if we just interpreted those sounds directly? What happens if I control the instrument directly? If I can feel the instrument without my hands? I'm about 4 Advil a day. Usually a half hour before I sit down at the piano to practice, I'm about 2 Advil or 3. And if I practice for more than an hour, which sometimes now during COVID, I've had the luck to be able to sit there for an hour and a half, hour 45, scales, arpeggios, chords, whatever I'm working on. I have, practice plan like every other musician. I'm 4 Advil after that, because these 3 joints right here, they're gone. This is bone on bone, and it kills. It's just ridiculous. I mean, how hard my arthritis has kicked in. Now, I do my best, but there's nothing they can do for me. And it's just going to get worse as I get older. What if I didn't need to use my hands, these arthritic hands, to play? What if you didn't need to use your ears to hear? What if you didn't need your eyes to see? What if you could see across country or into outer space? What does it mean to be human? What is reality? That's what neuroreality deeply is, and it calls a lot of questions. You just need to check out. You just need to check out what this is. And it's a primer. I'm not going to say it goes deep. We didn't go as deep as I wanted to go, but we got pretty good. We got pretty good on it. And I really, really hope you will have a listen and get involved. And I desperately want to hear what you think. So do the people at the Human Fusions Institute. Like, desperately want to know what you think. It is this kind of crazy frontier in this merger of technology, media, medicine, people, stuff. And yeah. Anyway, what a great group of questions. What a big group we have here. Let's see if I can just look at some of this. Oh, wow. Okay. Many questions. I like a lot of these. You can listen to Glenn Gould. That's fantastic. Oh, I know what I want to do really quickly. I want to talk about Twitter and fact checking. I want to talk about Twitter birdwatch. How many of you, you can just write it in the chat, how many of you have been aware of the social media attempts to get a handle on hate speech and what have you? I'm sure most of you are aware. Twitter's solution right now is called Birdwatch. It's a website, and Birdwatch is a community they've put together, a small community. The job of this community is to shed some light on tweets that might be horrifying or need to go away. I don't know how that could possibly work. I really don't know how that could possibly work. Twitter is in the anonymity business. They don't require you tell them who you are at all. And so they're never going to have a handle on this. Facebook, at least, is in the identity business, and it doesn't help them that much. You need to have to give your credit card and a driver's license or something to that effect, and you need to own your tweets. If you don't, it's never, ever, ever going to matter. And until they do that, until they decide they're going to go into the identity business, which, by the way, would be better for advertisers, right? Because I know who they are. And this becomes a real data issue, but an anonymous Twitter, basically, it's a cesspool. I hate to say it. I use Twitter every day. I have a bunch of verified friends, but the crap that's on Twitter, it's horrifying, horrifying. Question from Brian E. And I promised I'd get to it, which is, what are my thoughts about Bezos stepping down? Yeah. What are my thoughts about Jeff Bezos stepping down? Jeff Bezos, one of the smartest guys walking around. First guy in history to do all kinds of things, including get a business to the $1 trillion+ value that he got his business to. He's one of the early investors in Google. He is more than a visionary. And whether he is a visionary by happenstance, by luck, or by genetic gifts doesn't matter. He has changed the world we live in ways that others have not. He has been gifted by Wall Street the lowest cost of capital. Any CEO has been gifted for the longest period of time. Forever, he told his investors he wasn't going to make a profit, and they let him get away with it forever. When the company turned around, as to his vision, it turned around huge, and I don't need to tell you what Amazon is today. I think the company will do just fine. Thank you very much. I think management there is going to be okay. I'm much more interested in what Jeff Bezos' next focus is than I am about what's going to happen to Amazon. Amazon is going to be fine. I liken Amazon to the creature in Alien. If any of you saw the movie Alien, the original movie, it's a kind of a Jaws in space. Creature is kind of evil looking. It can live in any environment. It has acid for blood, and it kills everything it sees. That's Amazon. It's basically the creature from Alien. Amazon's going to do just fine. What I really want to know is how Jeff Bezos is going to take his immense influence, the big brain of his immense wealth, and what he will do next. And he hasn't shared that just yet with anybody, but I know that he will, and that's going to be the most important thing. And I'm really hoping for great things. I'm really hoping for great things. He's already done more than most of us will do in 10 lifetimes. So good for him and good for us, because love or hate Amazon, they serve an amazing purpose. You would all do well, by the way, to do two things. I haven't put them in courses. I haven't put them in courses.shellypalmer.com yet, but I will. There are two things we teach in our consulting practice to our clients. One is the Amazon press release. It's a format that is a pro forma press release you write when you have an idea. It's what would the press release look like? And ideas at Amazon get done that way. And it's a really, really interesting way to start a project. And the other thing is, you should all go look at Jeff Bezos' 2002 memo to his staff about APIs and services. It's a memo where he says to everyone that you are no longer allowed to have internal APIs or build services internally. The services must all be available to the outside world. and your internal customers will be customers. That may be the singularly most insightful memo any CEO has ever sent anywhere to anywhere, ever. And I would implore you to read it and deeply understand it. I am eternally grateful to Jeff for writing that memo, because 50% of the business at the Palmer Group, 50%, is helping our Fortune 500 clients transform their businesses from basically old-fashioned analog businesses to modern-day platformic businesses, where they are creating extensible, multi-sided platforms that allow them to build services internally and externally, to invite in developers and create communities of practice and communities of interest and communities of passion that they can profit from. You know, a lot of these already. Salesforce has the Salesforce Marketplace. Amazon has Amazon Marketplace. The Apple has the App Store. Google has the Play Store. These are all marketplaces that are based on multi-sided, or in some cases single-sided, extensible platforms. It's the business that we've mostly been in. And so, yeah, Bezos has had a giant impact in my career. He does say that he's going to spend more time doing, his other businesses. We'll see. Maybe he's going to give Elon Musk a run for his money in space. There is a race to Mars. Is it going to be Planet Bezos or Planet Musk? Planet Geffen? I'm not sure whose planet it's going to be. Planet Branson? It's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those, right? So one of those guys is going to be the first privateer, if you will, that gets either to the moon or Mars. I think the moon's probably more likely than Mars. We have a few minutes left, so if you've got other questions, I hope, or comments, or if you guys just want to chat amongst one another, that would be fantastic. I will throw one more ruthless promo up if I can. We now at ces.shellypalmer.com have the all the videos and the transcripts from our CES event, which was our Innovation Summit. So if you go to ces.shellypalmer.com, you can see the speeches. They're all chopped up into individual videos, and some of it's really worthwhile. Carolyn did a great job. Facebook, as did Wanda. Barak Turovsky's presentation about the state of AI in both monolingual and multilingual or bilingual translation is pretty powerful, and it's a really good thing to go deep into. And even if you just use it as a primer or as a jumping off point to do some other stuff, that'd be a great use of that material. So yeah. The other thing we're doing that I'd love to talk to you just a little bit about again is we are really pushing the idea of our salons. They have become fantastic places just to hang and meet. And if you haven't, joined, you don't have to, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But since we're all kind of locked in, if you've got the ability to go on Zoom, it's Monday through Thursday. It's just a half hour. And I think you'll find that it's really a very, very, very fun place to hang out. I also, of course, want you to send me an email about anything that you would like to send me an email about. And let me know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong in the salons here at the Strategy Hacker live stream, or in any of the places that you interface with us, because unless we get the feedback, we just don't know. Last thing I want to talk about today is our email list. Now, we have never pushed this ever. I just don't. There's so many people that get our daily email. I never think about it. I just never do. But if you go to shellypalmer.com, at the bottom of let's just scroll down to the footer or in the description of any of these videos that you're on right now, there's a link to our email list. And if you are interested, every morning I do a kind of a rant, a couple hundred words about whatever's happening on that given day. And then I spend a little time correlating and collating and curating 5 to 7 stories I think are most important. And I make sure that they are in order for you based on what it is you generally like to click on. We also have, upcoming events and stuff like that. But mostly this is about taking the day's most current event and surfacing it and starting a discussion, which you can continue on PGX or you can continue by just responding to the email. Hundreds of people respond every day. We do our best to answer them. Sometimes you get a little bit of a form letter back. Sometimes you just get invited to a chat or a Zoom or a summit. And so that interaction tells us that you're interested in a given subject and allows us to introduce you to other people that you might be able to do business with. So the email is sort of like the starting point where you sort of get to enter our community and start to tell us and show us from a data perspective what it is you're most interested in and how we can be most valuable to you. So if you go to shellypalmer.com, or if you just look in the description of the video that you're watching now, you'll see a link to subscribe, and I hope you do. And it's a one-click unsubscribe, so it's not going to be that burdensome, and we're very good about that. No one should ever get one piece of email that they don't want to get. It doesn't make any sense. So it's a very easy unsubscribe. We don't have a high turnover rate, oddly enough. It's been a very consistent list and kind of a wonderful, just way to interact. Last thing I would say to you is everyone now needs your help. If you're listening to this today, you are by default an expert in what you do. Even if you're just a student of the art, even if you're just curious, you're coming to this as someone who is a lifelong learner, someone who loves to learn, and someone who is not afraid of controversy. We're in a world right now where there are too many false narratives. There are too many people who are just talking. There's too many conspiracy theories. There's too many wikialities going on where just because it's popular doesn't mean it's true. And it's incumbent upon each and every one of us, everybody who's listening right now and everybody who's part of this community, to get involved. You can't stay silent now. You've been silent long enough. Certain things are right, certain things are wrong. I believe that. It's not winning and losing that matters now. In order to win, the right side has to win. And I kind of have an inviolate sense of right and wrong that was instilled in me, and I know you do too. This isn't a religious thing. This is just fighting for truth, what we believe to be the truth, which is where the facts are on our side, not alternative facts and not total bullshit. Just can't have it. So you got to call it out when you see it now. You can't sit by. The other day, I definitely called BS on a couple things. Lost 18 subscribers. It's like we never lose 18 subscribers. I was like, wow, cowards. If you're not comfortable hearing an alternative point of view, why? Listen and understand, and then tell them why you think you're right. Unfriending people who are batshit crazy is easy, but it's a cowardly way out. It just is. So what you need to do, what we all need to do, the smart ones, you guys, the people who are listening now, exactly you, need to use your brains, use your tools, use your words. And when someone starts talking to you about like Democrats eating babies or drinking their blood or like, what? Come on, folks. Come on. This isn't the 1500s. This isn't 7th century. We're in the 21st century. Can you imagine the pain people must be in to be believing this crap? So you can help. Not by unfriending people, not by just clicking away, by getting into it, not by arguing or howling at the moon. You can't teach anybody anything on Facebook. You can't teach anybody anything on Twitter or TikTok. Don't do that. When someone hits you on Facebook with something ridiculous, message them privately and ask them what they're thinking about. And get into it. Take 5 minutes and get into it just each day. Because if each of us just shows that much initiative, we're going to live in a better world. And with that, I will thank you very much and tell you that every week I really appreciate you spending time with me. I love the comments and the chat. I really appreciate the emails coming back. I like the time to practice. I'm learning a new craft and I'm kind of excited about it. It's a fun place to be and you guys make it great. So thank you from the bottom of my heart and I will see you all next week. All the very best.